Today we'll be discussing a small topic, hypolipidemic drugs. Actually, it is not per se under cardiovascular system, but we teach it along with cardiovascular systems because hyperlipidemia or dyslipidemia, it is one of the common causes of atherosclerosis, which is the cause, you can say, or the pathophysiology behind various cardiovascular disorders. So hypolipidemic drugs, it is a place of short notes for you. There are many drugs which are asked in the exams as short notes or sometimes as explain why questions. Generally, long questions are not asked from this section, hypolipidemic drugs. Okay, so it is a short topic, and I'll just tell you what are the important points you should remember. When revising cardiovascular system, obviously you should pay attention to renin-angiotensin system, the drugs used in ischemia, drugs used in heart failure, drugs for hypertension, drugs for arrhythmia, and this small topic, hypolipidemic drugs also. Uh, so before we begin, just a little bit about the biochemistry, you can say, or the background behind this dyslipidemia. Now you know that lipids in our body, which includes cholesterol and triglycerides, they are transported as lipoproteins. And there are four classes of lipoproteins: chylomicrons, VLDL, LDL, and HDL. Chylomicrons, you know, transports triglyceride and cholesterol. From where? From the gastrointestinal tract to the tissues. And they are split by this enzyme lipase, wherein they release the free fatty acids and glycerol. The free fatty acids are taken up in the muscle and adipose tissue. And what remains from that chylomicrons after it has been split by the lipase is called the chylomicron remnants. Then the next lipoprotein is VLDL. VLDL transports the cholesterol and triglycerides and the newly synthesized triglyceride to the tissues. And when it reaches the tissues, the triglycerides are removed. How they are removed? Similar, by the action of lipase. And then what remains from the VLDL is the LDL. Now, since the triglyceride has been removed and it had been initially carrying triglyceride as well as cholesterol, and triglyceride has now been removed, so what remains is only cholesterol. Okay, so the LDL or the low density protein contains only a large component of cholesterol mainly. This cholesterol is taken up by the tissues by endocytosis and even by liver. And there are certain receptors, the LDL receptors, through which the endocytosis takes place. Now another class of lipoproteins are there, the HDLs, which absorb the cholesterol derived from the cell breakdown in the tissues and transfers it to the VLDL and LDL. So it helps in the removal of cholesterol which is formed after the breakdown of cells and transfers it to the VLDL and LDL. So this was the basic lipid metabolism that we were discussing. Now, what is dyslipidemia? When this total cholesterol concentration increases. The normal range of cholesterol concentration should be lesser than 6.5 millimoles per liter. Okay, but when it increases beyond this, then we call it hyperlipidemia. or when there is abnormality in the ratio or the proportions of different lipids, then we call it dyslipidemia. There are smooth gradations of increased risk with elevated LDL cholesterol concentration and with reduced HDL cholesterol concentrations. So dyslipidemias, they can be primary or secondary. Primary, as the name suggests, that they are determined genetically. Secondary, meaning that it is secondary to some other cause. And primary means something which is, like, you can say, which is occurring from the start. There is nothing which is preceding it. Secondary means that there is some other preceding condition as a consequence of which dyslipidemia is occurring. Okay, so the cause of primary dyslipidemia is often genetic only, and secondary is due to other disease conditions like diabetes, alcoholism, nephrotic syndrome, chronic renal failure, or other drugs. Now, I'll just brush through quickly about the different pathways for exogenous and endogenous lipids. This we won't ask in pharmacology, but just for your concept, so that you can understand what we will teach in this lecture, in the coming slides. The exogenous pathway is where the cholesterol and triglyceride, they're absorbed from the GIT, and then they are transported in the lymph and then in the plasma as chylomicrons to capillaries in muscles and adipose tissues. Here, the core triglycerides are hydrolyzed by lipoprotein lipase, and the tissues, they take up the resulting free acids. The cholesterol is liberated within the liver cells and may be stored, oxidized to bile acids, or secreted in the bile unaltered. And alternatively, the cholesterol may enter the endogenous pathway of lipid transport in the VLDL also. So this is the exogenous pathway. Now, about atherosclerosis. Now, you know that the underlying, the basic pathophysiology behind MI, or you can say ischemic heart disease, it is the formation of atheromatous plaque, that is atherosclerosis, wherein this atheroma formation takes place in the arteries, decreasing the lumen. So when we check, or when we are taking care of the dyslipidemia, then we are treating that underlying pathology. Now, hypertension and dyslipidemias, they are one of the commonest risk factors. Risk factors for what? Risk factors for myocardial infarction, risk factors for ischemic heart disease. So atheroma is actually what? Atheroma is a focal disease of the arteries. Now the musculature of the arteries has this intima. So when there is a focal disease of the intima of the large and the medium sized arteries, that is called atheroma. And this atherogenesis, it involves endothelial dysfunction. So these are the steps, you can say, in atherogenesis. In pathology, if I'm repeating, please let me know. Excuse me. Have you been taught about these processes of atherosclerosis and pathology already?
No, ma'am.
No? Okay. Then I'll just tell you in short, so that when you study in pathology, it will help you. So this atherogenesis, it involves several stages. First is the endothelial dysfunction. Dysfunction of what? Dysfunction of this arteries, the endothelial lining of these large and medium-sized arteries. And this endothelial function occurs along with the altered PGI2 and nitric oxide synthesis. Because this prostacyclin, that is prostaglandin I2 and nitric oxide, they are synthesized from the endothelial cells itself. So when there is endothelial dysfunction of these arteries, there is altered prostacyclin and nitric oxide synthesis. There is monocyte attachment. Now the inflammatory cells come into action. The monocyte attachment occurs. The endothelial cells will bind with the LDL, and then these LDL gets oxidized. The oxidatively modified LDL is taken up by the macrophages, and having taken up the oxidized LDL, these macrophages now they are called foam cells. They now slowly migrate subendothelially, मतलब endothelium के भी नीचे चला गया, subendothelially, and slowly the plaque formation takes place. So you can visualize, first there is a endothelial dysfunction, एक focus शुरू होता है, altered prostacyclin and nitric oxide synthesis, फिर inflammatory cells attract हो रहा है, the endothelial cells they'll bind this LDL, then this LDL gets oxidized होने के बाद the inflammatory cells, mainly the macrophages, they engulf it. Okay, and now by after engulfing वो macrophage बन जाता है foam cells, and now these they migrate subendothelially, and slowly this atheromatous plaque forms underneath this endothelial layer of the arteries or the blood vessels. And this plaque, when it ruptures, then it can get dislodged in any place and cause fatal consequences. So why I am saying this is, why I have given all this introduction is to explain to you how dyslipidemia can be a risk factor for so many cardiovascular diseases. So as soon as dyslipidemia is diagnosed, one should check it, or one should take proper measures or interventions to normalize it. So there are several drugs which can be used to decrease the LDL cholesterol. There is drug therapy to lower the plasma lipids. Obviously, dietary management is one of the very important component here. Then other modifiable risk factor, other modifiable things that can be done includes exercise and lifestyle modifications. So dyslipidemia can be treated by these ways. So since we are studying pharmacology, we will be dealing with the drugs. So the first group of drugs includes statins. Now let me tell you that what I was telling you at the start was that this topic is very important for short notes. And among all the drugs which are used for the treatment of dyslipidemia, the most important is statins. This group is the most important. Okay? Or what are the drugs here? Simvastatin, pravastatin, atorvastatin. Okay, all the drugs which ends by this statin. So सबसे common इनमें से है atorvastatin. You know, atorvastatin is the very common drug. So very often short notes are asked on atorvastatin. Very often short notes are asked on statins as such. Okay, so this is a very important part. So how does this group of drugs act? What is the mechanism of action? Now there is an enzyme, HMG-CoA reductase, which catalyzes the conversion of HMG-CoA. What is HMG-CoA? 3-hydroxy 3-methyl glutaryl coenzyme A. So this HMG-CoA gets converted to mevalonic acid, and this is one of the very important steps of cholesterol synthesis. So the statins, they are a group of drugs which inhibit this enzyme HMG-CoA reductase, because HMG-CoA reductase is responsible for the conversion of HMG-CoA to mevalonic acid, which is a very important step for cholesterol synthesis. So cholesterol synthesis is getting inhibited. So statins, they decrease the cholesterol synthesis in the liver, and since in HDL the basic component is cholesterol, so it lowers the total LDL cholesterol. But what happens is it stimulates the expression of more enzymes and restores the cholesterol synthesis to normal. This is the flip side of it. But on the whole, studies have demonstrated that statins are very important. Statins are very important drugs, and they have very important positive effects in reducing the morbidity and mortality. Statins have important side effects which you should remember is myopathy. Okay, so this drug should not be given along with fibrates or nicotinic acid. Why? Because nicotinic acid and fibrates, they also cause myopathy, and statins are not to be given during pregnancy. So sometimes we also ask this drug interaction questions also, that a person was diagnosed with high cholesterol, and he was prescribed statins along with fibrates. Comment. So you have to write that it is not the rational combination because of the increased chances of myopathy. So statins, the main pharmacodynamic actions of statins, due to which it is so useful drug, is that it improves the endothelial function, which was deranged. Remember when we were studying the pathophysiology, we discussed that during the atheroma formation, there was endothelial dysfunction. As a result, nitric oxide and prostacyclin synthesis got hampered. So lipid lowering drugs, they cause improved endothelial function, reduced vascular inflammation, platelet aggregability. There is anti-thrombotic action, stabilization of the atherosclerotic plaques, increased neovascularization of ischemic tissue. See, all these steps are helping in reversing the pathology, improved endothelial function, reducing the vascular inflammations, platelet aggregability. Platelet aggregability is also one of the steps in atheroma formation. The anti-thrombotic action, stabilization of these plaques so that they don't get dislodged, increased neovascularization of ischemic tissue, enhanced fibrinolysis, immune suppression, and osteoclast apoptosis, and increased synthetic activity in osteoblast. This is also one of the functions. So you see, statins, they have so many functions. They are well absorbed orally. So you know, atorvastatin 10 milligrams, this is used worldwide. So it has a good bioavailability. It is well absorbed when given orally. Extracted by the liver, they undergo extensive pre-systemic biotransformation. That is, matlab they are the pro drug and they get converted into the active drug. The uses of statins include secondary prevention of myocardial infarction and stroke in patients who have the symptomatic atherosclerotic disease. Symptomatic कौन से symptoms होगा? The symptoms include that of angina, transient ischemic attacks. Okay. Then they can be used for primary prevention also in patients who are at high risk because of the elevated cholesterol concentration. So atorvastatin, it lowers the serum cholesterol in patients with uh, homozygous familial hypercholesterolemia. This is a condition, homozygous familial hypercholesterolemia. So atorvastatin is prescribed in those patients. Now the adverse effects include the GI disturbances, increased liver enzymes, and like I said, myopathy occurs. So severe myositis, rhabdomyolysis, it is possible. Though rare, but angioedema can also occur. So these are the side effects of statins which you should remember. And in explain why questions, sometimes or very often we ask why statins should not be given with like any other drug which also causes myopathy. And among the other drugs, there is another lipid lowering drug, fibrates, nicotinic acid, which also cause myopathy. So you should not give them in combination. Now coming to the other class, we have discussed statins. Now coming to fibrates. What do fibrates do? The mechanism of action of fibrates is to stimulate the beta oxidative degeneration of fatty acids. They liberate the free fatty acids for storage in fat or for metabolism in striated muscle. These fibrates, they act on the receptors which are PPAR alpha receptor, that is peroxisomal proliferator activated receptor, PPAR alpha. And these fibrates, they are ligands for this receptor PPAR alpha, and they cause or they enhance the activity of the enzyme lipoprotein lipase, and thus hydrolysis of chylomicrons will take place in the hydrolysis of triglycerides will take place in the chylomicrons and VLDL. So they will overall reduce the VLDL production and increase the LDL uptake. So they produce a moderate decrease in LDL, and it has been found that they also increase HDL. HDL, remember, is the good cholesterol. So if there is an increase, it is beneficial. So what are these drugs? They come under the name of fibrates. So fenofibrate, clofibrate, gemfibrocil, ciprofibrate. Okay. So they also improve glucose tolerance and also have anti-inflammatory effects on the vascular smooth muscles. The adverse effects occur in patients with renal impairment and can cause rhabdomyolysis. It can also cause myoglobinuria. Acute renal failure also can be caused. So fibrates should be avoided in such patients in which there is risk of myoglobinuria and acute renal failure. So fibrates, they are first line defense for mixed dyslipidemia. The patients with low HDL and high risk of atheromatous disease. So मतलब type 2 diabetes mellitus को we consider that probably they are at high risk because they have low HDL. So we can prescribe fibrates there. Patients with severe treatment-resistant dyslipidemias, we can prescribe fibrates there. Remember, the first drug of choice is not fibrates. First drug is always statins. Okay. So when patients, they are not responding to statins, or when statins they cannot be given due to some reason, then we can think of fibrates, but never in combination. Coming to the next group, that is lipid lowering drugs. They are also called resins, bile acid binding resins. They sequester the bile acids in the GIT. The resins, they will sequester the bile acids in the GIT, and they will prevent the reabsorption and enterohepatic circulation. So the result is decreased absorption of exogenous cholesterol. What is the function of bile acids? They help in the absorption of exogenous cholesterol. So if the bile acids, which help in the absorption of cholesterol, is sequestered in the GIT itself, तो क्या होगा? There is decreased absorption of the exogenous cholesterol and increased metabolism of the endogenous cholesterol into bile acids, because cholesterol gets metabolized to bile acids, and the bile acids, they help in the absorption of exogenous cholesterol. So if we are sequestering the bile acids, we are decreasing the concentration of bile acids this way, then we are decreasing the absorption of exogenous cholesterol, and the endogenous cholesterol which has been formed gets more and more metabolized to form bile acids. So there is increased expression of LDL receptors on the liver cells. There is increased, as a result of which there is increased removal of LDL from the blood, and finally there is reduced concentration of LDL cholesterol. So this ion exchange resins, they increase the excretion of bile acids, causing more cholesterol to be converted to bile acids. They decrease the hepatic cholesterol and causing compensatory increase in the HMG-CoA reductase activities. Okay, so this one has to be careful, that there is a compensatory increase in the HMG-CoA reductase, and HMG-CoA reductase helps in the de novo cholesterol synthesis. So the body tries to compensate for it, that when you are blocking the one particular step, then the other step gets enhanced. But because these resins don't work in patients with homozygous familial hypercholesterolemia, the increased expression of hepatic LDL receptors is the main mechanism. So we can say the increased expression of hepatic LDL receptors is the main mechanism by which resins, they lower the plasma cholesterol. So what are the names of these bile acids resins, bile acid binding resins? They come by the name of cholestyramine, cholestyramine. Okay. Or what are the conditions in which they are used? They are used in heterozygous familial hypercholesterolemia when a statin is contraindicated. See, try to when you are studying this topic, so you try to remember at least one condition, one hyperlipidemia, one condition, heterozygous familial hypercholesterolemia. You have to remember at least one, so that when you are writing a short note, you can write one clinical use. Then these lipid lowering drugs, they also have uses which are unrelated to atherosclerosis. For example, these resins, they are very useful in pruritus, which is due to biliary obstruction. They are useful in bile acid diarrhea also, which occurs in diabetic neuropathy. These are uses of bile acid binding resins which are unrelated to this atherosclerosis. So the adverse effects include this abdominal bloating and nausea. It is capable of causing constipation as well as diarrhea, because resins are not absorbed as such. They are not absorbed in the body. So uh, they they merely act as a sequestering agent. They are not absorbed in the body. As a result, this it causes bloating. They have a very bad taste. They are unappetizing. So they can be given along with fruit juice to make it palatable. They can interfere with the absorption of fat soluble vitamins. They can interfere with the absorption of drugs like chlorothiazide, digoxin, warfarin. Okay, so if a patient has to take these drugs, then they should be given 1 hour before or 4 to 6 hours after giving the resins. Okay, because they interfere with the absorption of these drugs. So these are the adverse effects. So till now we have discussed statins, which is the most important drug, I said, in dyslipidemia, then followed by fibrates, followed by bile acid binding resins. Now there is another drug, nicotinic acid. The nicotinic acid inhibits the hepatic triglyceride production and VLDL secretion by 30 to 50%. There is a modest reduction in LDL and increase in HDL. Nicotinic acid was the first lipid lowering drug to decrease the overall mortality. Nicotinic acid, when it was discovered, it was found to be very useful because it used to decrease the overall mortality in patients with coronary artery disease. But slowly, the adverse effects came to be known. That it causes flushing, palpitation, GIT disturbances, and it prolongs the QT interval, which is very dangerous. So slowly nicotinic acid lost its use slowly. So because of these adverse effects, its use became slowly limited. But you should know the property. What is the property of nicotinic acid? It inhibits this hepatic triglyceride production as well as VLDL secretion, and it causes an increase in HDL. Increase in HDL by quite and this increase is quite significant, along with the reduction in LDL. So what do we want? We want for the treatment of dyslipidemia, we want that the good cholesterol is increased and the bad cholesterol is decreased. So this is what nicotinic acid does. But because of these side effects of flushing, palpitation, GIT disturbances, alteration in this QT prolongation, so it slowly has limited use. There are certain other miscellaneous drugs like fish oil, which is rich in omega-3 fatty acids, unsaturated fatty acids. They have been also claimed to reduce the plasma triglyceride, but they can increase the cholesterol. But it has been found that it has a positive or the beneficial effect in altering the cardiac morbidity and mortality. This is an area of research actually, which I am telling you. Now another drug which has been discovered is ezetimibe. The ezetimibe, what it does is it inhibits the intestinal cholesterol absorption. So see, the statins, what they are doing is, statins, by inhibiting the HMG coenzyme, they are inhibiting the de novo cholesterol synthesis. Okay, मतलब जो इंडिजिनियस कोलेस्ट्रॉल बॉडी में बन रहा है, द डी नोवो सिंथेसिस ऑफ कोलेस्ट्रॉल, दैट इज गेटिंग इनहिबिटेड. And ezetimibe, it is inhibiting the intestinal cholesterol absorption. मतलब जो exogenous cholesterol आ रहा है diet से हमारे, that is being absorbed from the intestine. That is being inhibited by ezetimibe. So you just think whether ezetimibe and statins, if given together, will be a good combination or not. Yes, just think and let me know what you think. Giving ezetimibe and statins together, will it be rational or irrational combination?
Rational.
Yes, because ezetimibe is causing inhibition of the absorption of exogenous cholesterol, or statin is reducing the de novo synthesis, that means endogenous cholesterol synthesis inhibition. So the overall cholesterol level decreases. So, it has been found that giving with statins may be synergistic. So a good combination helps. So this is also a question which can be asked, that statins and ezetimibe is synergistic. Comment. You can be asked whether a combination therapy is rational or not. Comment. So sometimes, hyperlipidemias, they may require combination therapies. So you have to rationalize. Like statins and fibrates, that combination is irrational because of the side effect of myopathy. Statins and ezetimibe is rational. It can have synergistic action. So you should, if a combination is to be given, one should always prefer combinations where drugs act with different mechanism of actions. For example, statins and fibrates. Statins and fibrates, it is not that that they are not given in any case. Even if they are given, one should be always very cautious about the occurrence of myopathy or rhabdomyolysis. The patient should be strictly monitored. Even though some combinations may increase the risk of, say, myopathy, which I was saying, sometimes the benefits that occur by lowering this cholesterol, that may outweigh the small increase in the adverse effects. So, that is the clinician's decision. You have to weigh the pros and cons. Sometimes the benefits are so huge that we tend to overlook, or we tend to outweigh the small adverse effects. But whatever be the case, we should be on the lookout for the adverse effects. Now, these are some newer drugs. I'm just giving you a hint. This will not be asked in your exams, but since this is pharmacology, this is an ever developing subject. So there are newly developed anti-dyslipidemic therapies which are in the pipeline. For example, the pro-protein convertase, subtilisin, or the Kexin type 0 inhibitors, like various monoclonal antibodies, alirocumab, evolocumab, bococicumab, when there is MAB at the end, this is monoclonal antibodies. They will bind with the LDL-C receptors and facilitate the lysosomal degeneration. Okay, they are being developed now. Then apolipoprotein B synthesis inhibitors like mipomersen, they are also being developed. Then the triglyceride transfer protein inhibitor, which helps to transfer of triglyceride to the ApoB lipoprotein in the liver. If those, various minute steps in this pathway, and various different small proteins and enzymes which play a role, they are being identified, and their inhibitors are being tried to treat dyslipidemia. What the pathophysiology which I briefly introduced at the start of the lecture, or which we just brushed through, that is not all. There are various molecular details into it which I didn't go into, but there are various steps uh, which are present, and when newly developed anti-dyslipidemic strategies or therapies are being researched now, those small steps are being targeted. ठीक है? Now the recent research also includes drugs to enhance the HDL. HDL is the good cholesterol. So the cholesterol ester transfer proteins, CETP inhibitors like dalcetrapib, torcetrapib, they target the HDL. They help to enhance the HDL, the activity of the HDL. So these are some drugs which are in the pipeline. This trapibs, I think one has got FDA approval till now, but they are still an area of research. So for your undergraduate exams, for passing, we will not ask these drugs. Okay, what we will ask is, we will ask you statins, we will ask you fibrates, we will ask you bile acid resins. We can ask why nicotinic acid was so useful and why it now is not used. Why statins and fibrates should not be given in combination preferably, and if at all, if it is to be given, what are the side effects for which you have to be careful. Why statins and ezetimibe in combination? Do you think it is useful? Do you think it is a rational combination? These are the questions we will ask. Okay. So that is all about dyslipidemia. When you revise dyslipidemia or hypolipidemic drugs, you just brush through your knowledge of hyperlipidemia. You can just brush through de novo cholesterol synthesis in biochemistry, or just the different types of hyperlipidemia, and then you go to the classification of, or yes, and in pathology you need to just brush through the steps of atheroma formation. Then you go to the classification of hypolipidemic drugs, which is pharmacology. Statins, fibrates, bile acid binding resins, nicotinic acids, and miscellaneous. And the most important is statins. Okay, मतलब अगर हाइपोलिपिडेमिक ड्रग में हम एक क्वेश्चन पूछेंगे तो हम statins का पूछेंगे. ठीक है? So that is all for today. Just a minute, I'll download